Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Adrian Ward, and I'm joined by four-time Grand Prix Rider of the Year, Rob Gage. And on behalf of all of us here at the Del Mar International Horse Show and, of course, West Palms Events Management, we want to welcome you to the beautiful Del Mar Arena. Tonight's featured event will be the $35,000 Del Mar charity event, a class which will be shown at a height of -50. We'll tell you a little bit about the class in just a few moments, but in the meantime, again, I'd like to introduce to you my partner tonight, four-time Grand Prix Rider of the Year, and of course a previous winner right here at the Grand Prix of Del Mar, Mr. Rob Gage. Rob, while we have a moment, just a quick question. You were talking to me a bit earlier about the unique nature of competing in this arena. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Adrian. When the horses get here, they have to come down a ramp to get into the ring. The ring is built down low. So the spectators and the people that the horses see are sitting at about eye level for those horses. And some of the older horses, that won't bother them. But every now and then, the young horses might look through a fence as perhaps some of the people in the stands jostle, move around, or do something. The older horses should be okay, but the young horses, every once in a while, you'll see something like that come up.
Understood. And is there going to be any difference, you think, with professional riders and how they handle that element as opposed to the amateur riders? So, again, we do have some amateur competitors joining us this evening. We'll run down some of the names of the riders we've got. Of course, Peter Pechnig will be competing this evening, as well as Enrique Gonzalez, Kent Farrington, amateur rider Jennifer Gates. We mentioned amateurs competing tonight. She's the youngest competitor we'll see this evening at just 18 years of age. Professional Richard Spooner, amateur rider Paris Sellen. We've got Ashley Bond, Carl Cook, always an exciting rider to watch.
We have not only just about all the best riders out here in California, but this is a big international event now. And so we have some really tip-top international European riders, and some of the top riders from the East Coast are out here, such as BZ Madden will be here.
How nice is it to have BZ Madden showing here this week? She has just been a great competitor to watch the last few days here at the Del Mar International Horse Show. And just a few more of the names. We've got, of course, Jan Humphrey joining us from up north, Guillermo Obligado, Enrique Gonzalez, whom we mentioned a bit earlier, Georgina Bloomberg, and Nael Nassar. A great lineup of horses and riders competing in tonight's speed competition.
This is one when I used to show, this was my favorite place to show. They always have a big crowd. The footing is great. It has a cover on top, so you don't have to worry about the weather, but the weather is nice. Heck, we're in Southern California, Del Mar.
I'll tell you a little bit about the Del Mar crowd. Not only are they plentiful, we always get a full house here, but they are a knowledgeable crowd. That's one thing I've noticed is these people know their show jumping. They know exactly what's going on in the competition arena, and they are really looking on with educated eyes. This is not an unsophisticated audience that we get here. All right, word from the booth is we're going to wrap it up here for a few moments, and we'll turn it over to the booth and be right back.
Passion, effort, overcoming obstacles, glory.
What a horse, what a combination, and what a time!
In a region where equestrian sport has been growing at full gallop, a brand new major league, the Longines FEI World Cup Jumping North American League.
43.83 down with just one to go.
The best human and equine athletes of the sport battling to qualify for the amazing Longines FEI World Cup Jumping Final.
Et il le fait! Oui, pour 15e! Extraordinaire, quelle finale fantastique! Increíble! ¡Qué tiempo! ¡Qué caballo! ¡El ganador!
sport, rich in personalities, where human and horse must have a true partnership to succeed, and where men and women share the same podium. An electrifying finish to the Longines season, a truly global final, where the biggest stars of international jumping will fight for the trophy and a massive €1.3 million jackpot.
A world-class performance by a world-class man.
The most exciting equestrian events in 14 outstanding venues across 3 countries: Mexico, the United States, and Canada. Taking the sport across the continent to iconic cities and world-class equestrian locations. 2015 goes down in American sport history with the launch of the Longines FEI World Cup Jumping North American League. The perfect combination of high-profile sport, family entertainment, and thrilling competition. Kicking off in August across the continent.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well, Rob, let's start with the obvious. What a great rendition of the national anthem. That was absolutely beautiful. It's always great to start an event like this with a terrific rendition of the national anthem. Let's talk a little bit about the class we're going to see tonight. Of course, it is the $35,000 Del Mar charity. This is going to be held under FEI table 238.2.1. Those of you more familiar with the USEF tables, it's a 2.1 class. It's a speed class. It is timed first round. We're very fortunate to have designing courses all week here at the Del Mar International Horse Show. Mr. Heiko Vollers. Rob, did you ever have a chance to ride any of Heiko's courses? No?
No, Heiko wasn't course designing back when I was still riding, but he has a unique course here that has only 2 in and outs in it, but they come one right after the other.
If I'm not mistaken, the only related distance in the entire track.
Actually, I counted twice. The related distance between the 2 in and outs, if everybody at home wants to count, should be a 6 stride. And then there's a bending line to the next to last jump, the CW defense, which should be a 7 stride.
I got you. So, yeah, obviously with the speed track design, the number of related distances always to a minimum. Again, we've got a big course out there. He's set every bit of 1.50 m in heights.
And here comes our first horse.
All righty, starting us off here in our $35,000 Del Mar Charity Horse Show. We're pleased to welcome to our competition arena number 590, Uppercut Chavanais, and Peter Pechnig.
I spoke to Peter earlier, and he told me that he's only had this horse maybe 8 months. They started off in the meter 30s. So this is he said, will be a little bit of a big track for this horse, but he wanted to give the horse a chance to see what he could do over the larger jumps.
All righty, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Again, our track is numbered 1 through 10. We've got 12 jumping efforts, as Rob described earlier, the 2 combinations across the middle of the arena. We've got an 83-second time allowed. And again, a reminder to our viewers, this is a timed first round. They'll be going quick right out of the gate.
Yeah, and the first few jumps are all very far apart from each other. So any horse that wants to really win will have to start at a pretty strong gallop.
Obviously jumping around beautifully so far, not even a rub thus far. And coming across those 2 combinations we referred to earlier. So it looked like a bit of a careful ride, Rob, for a 2-1 class. He seems to be riding, like I said, very carefully, making sure he leaves everything up.
I agree with you, Adrian. He told me he just wanted to give the horse a good solid ride and maybe get a prize out of this. And so far so good, but the horse is jumping super. Now he's got to do the Liverpool. And the Liverpool is set behind the rails, which for some horses can be a bit of an optical illusion. Yeah,
You saw that one coming, didn't you?
Yeah, he's a young horse. That's hard for them. And he got the 7 strides to the CWD. Now it's just a long last gallop to an all-black jump. All black ox are here. And that's it.
Alrighty, so just the 2 rails coming down. It'll be an 8-fault score. We've got a time of 87.19. So right now that will incur time penalties. A little trouble hearing the booth, but I would imagine they'll monitor. But I don't know if that time is going to change. He rode very carefully, and I don't see any need to go up with the time allowed.
I have a feeling they will keep the time allowed right where it is. I thought his horse jumped beautifully for a young horse just getting to this level. I'm sure that's just what he wanted.
Alrighty, next to compete here in our $35,000 Del Mar charity, we've got number 196. 196, the number for Chocnut, and Enrique Gonzalez. Enrique has the ride here for E2 Stables out of Carlsbad, California.
Enrique's originally from Mexico, but he's lived here just a few miles away from the showgrounds now for the last 2 or 3 years. I spoke to him earlier. This is this horse's very first time to jump a meter 50 track. Rode the 6 stride from in and out to in and out very well. As you can see, the first part of the course sets the jumps up pretty far away from each other. Now it starts to get a little complicated, the course does. He zigzagged there a little bit. Enrique held him in at the last second. Just that final all-black fence to go. He should be right almost on the time.
There we go, beautifully done, no faults at all. Very nicely done. We've got a time of 80.77, so within the 83-second time allowed. Again, it appeared to be another careful ride, but obviously this time with no rails. That's your new leader. No faults, and a time of 80.77 becomes our time to beat.
I don't think Enrique could have expected any better from this horse, considering it's his very first meter 50 class. It's at night in front of all the people. That's pretty darn good.
Absolutely. I think he'll be very happy with that performance indeed. Again, a reminder to our viewers, we are a speed class, and right now our first two rides have both been very careful. Wouldn't surprise me if we had somebody really turn on the burners here and zip around maybe in mid-70s or low 70s. I think we'll see that tonight. Next to compete here, we've got number 287. That's the number for Belle Fleur. Belle Fleur 38, ridden by Kent Farrington, owned by Haiti McNerney, and joining us from Lake Forest, Illinois.
Of course, Kent's one of the most highly ranked riders in the world. Lives on the East Coast. He's one of the ones that came all the way out here, and aren't we glad to have him. He told me he won a Grand Prix in Wellington on this horse. They've been together about a year. And Kent is absolutely one of the fastest riders in the world. Even when he's not being fast, he's fast. This class will start to get fun now, because now people are going to start to try to win.
Yeah, we're not running a split time on this, but you can tell just by his pace that his time is going to be the quickest we've seen so far.
Yeah, his turns are just a little sharper, and this horse is very quick on top of it. Kent always lands going forward. There's an inside turn to make here, and he made it. Squares up to the Liverpool. Good. Just 3 jumps to go. And we'll see how much of a run he wants to take at this big oxer at the end. He played that last fence careful, but still.
Absolutely,
fast.
very well
Very
done. Back-to-back clear rides, and we said his pace was a bit quicker than the previous two, and it shows in the time, 73.97. Again, no jumping faults, and Kent Farrington and Belle Fleur, 38, take the lead. Very nicely done.
Not just take the lead, Adrian, but he's 7 seconds faster than Enrique. He set a pretty good pace here.
He absolutely did. That is going to be tough to catch. Alrighty, about to receive the tone. We've got our next competitor, number 299. This is Cadence and amateur rider Jennifer Gates. You may remember I said a bit earlier, not only is Jennifer an amateur rider, but she's also the youngest competitor of the evening. Rob, how old were you during your first Grand Prix? Do you remember?
30.
So you were older than 18. So, now, again, we're not having a Grand Prix here, but the pressure's the same. So Jennifer handles it very, very well.
I was a very late starter. Most of these kids these days now get into the Grand Prix between about 18 and 25.
And they do a great job.
Jennifer, generally we see her riding in like the high amateur division, and she's very competitive. She is trained by Hardin Tal, who rides some of their horses in the open divisions, and doing a very good job for them. We'll see Hardin tomorrow night. She got it, but she was very late fitting that 6 into the second in and out, but it worked. I think she's going to be a little closer to Enrique's time in the end. She is making the inside turn to the Liverpool, whoop, and then a zigzag out, so it doesn't really help her to go inside if she's going to zigzag that far back out again. I think she's going to have time faults, but I don't think they care. I think she just wanted a good round over a big course.
Well, we had a rail there at the penultimate fence number 11 coming down, so right now carrying 4 faults, and obviously a bit of trouble there at fence number 12. That'll be 8 faults, and that's not going to help the time. As you said, she was probably going to have time penalties regardless.
Those all black poles could be really hard to see. They're set right next to the people. Yeah.
Well, you know, the bad news, obviously, is second refusal, and Jennifer and Cadence will be excused. But all in all, she's probably not going to be too disappointed. She rode around brilliantly for the first 90% of the course.
Exactly.
Had a little trouble there at the end.
Her problems were right at the end, so she got most of the course done. And that's a big course for a young girl like that.
Absolutely. Alrighty, the tone about to start for our next competitor, number 828, Chivas Z. Richard Spooner aboard the first of his 2 rides of the evening. In fact, Richard also owns Chivas Z, and rumor has it Richard can ride fairly quickly, Rob.
They don't call him the master of faster for nothing. Richard is one of the winningest Grand Prix riders in American history. He is super fast, super strong. He told me this horse had top placings in some of the speed classes at Spruce Meadows. This is an older horse. He's 16 years old. He's been there, done that. And he's won a few Grand Prix with Richard. And Richard likes to win.
He does indeed. Very competitive gentleman. And time to beat, we'll remind folks, 73.97. So I'm sure Richard will be looking to improve upon that just a bit.
Richard started right off at a good gallop.
Quickest pace we've seen from 1 to 2,
yeah,
I think. And we'll see if he gets the 5 across the diagonal. I believe Heiko mentioned that a 5 could be seen tonight from combination to combination.
And here comes that combination to combination now. Now you can see him hit the brakes and do the 6. Got to keep the motor going here. There is an inside turn after this fence to the Liverpool. Watch the inside turn. There it is. He did not swing back out. That's the trick. Good. 3 jumps to go. One jump to go. Trying to beat 73.97. Trying to catch Kent Farrington.
All righty, we're clear. We'll check the time. Time to beat was 73.97. Look at that time, 73.20. And we've got ourselves a new leader, Richard Spooner, and Chivas Z taking the lead by just about 0.6 of a second.
And I can tell you exactly where he beat Kent was to the very right there. The very last jump, Spooner just kind of kept pace right down to it, and Kent saw conservative distance and had to slow down a little. That was the whole difference.
Well, it was a beautiful ride and certainly good enough to take the lead here in our $35,000 Del Mar charity event. Of course, we want to give a shout out to Davlin Farms, tonight's sponsor. Our thanks so much to Davlin. Next to compete here, we've got number 305. This is Street Hassle. Another amateur rider here, Paris Sellin, has the ride. Paris aboard her own entry, joining us from Los Angeles.
Paris is 23, and she goes to SMU, Southern Methodist University in Texas. Otherwise she resides in LA, and she said this horse is just starting to get to this level, so she's riding more for just a good prize and some good confidence for this horse. Paris was an exceptional junior rider out here in California, riding with Dick and Francie Steinwood-L. Carvin. Oh, had the oxer down. So
I think that's the first time we've seen a rail there at Fence 4 tonight. Of course, we have not had a lot of rails coming down. Our riders have been jumping very well and very carefully. Second rail coming down.
She was a little fast getting into that in and out. And that horse doesn't quite have the experience yet now how to back off inside the in and out, and yet still got to cross the width of that oxer. He'll learn. Now she's opened up her pace a little, but that's going to get her pretty short here. Whew.
All Alrighty, not a bad effort. We've got 8 jumping faults, a relatively quick time, 76.77. In fact, I think our third fastest time. With the 2 rails coming down, the 8 jumping faults, that will put Paris into 4th place aboard Street Hassle.
And although she had 8 faults, none of those 8 faults were anything scary that would upset the horse or bother him for another time. That was a nice, there it is, right there. Just kind of caught it in front, jumped out across a little more than she wanted. He'll get it. That's a nice horse.
Well, she leaves the arena. She's got a big smile, so I think she's happy with her performance this evening. Alrighty, we welcome our next competitor here in our $35,000 Del Mar charity event. This is number 368, the number 4 Ace of Hearts, professional rider Ashley Bond in the saddle for Little Valley Farms from nearby Calabasas.
Ashley is one of those riders who could actually catch Richard Spooner. She is fast and daring, and I've seen this horse go. He is super fast. She told me she's won 3 Grand Prix on him earlier this year. So he's not only fast, but he's a good jumper. Ashley had been living...
What do you think, Rob? Are we going to get the 5 here from combination to combination?
This horse is a little teeny horse. She'll hold back and do 6 for sure. This horse is maybe 16 hands top. Ashley used to live in Europe and competed over there for a long time, but she told me she's moved back to California now. She's trying to put some pressure here on Spooner and see if she can catch him. 1 stride wider there than Richard was, and that cost her. She just held out 1 stride too long, and he had to skip off the ground.
Well, just the 1 rail coming down, fence number 9, the culprit, and it'll be a 4-fault score there for Ashley Bond and Ace of Hearts. A quick time, 73.72. So you used the word daring, and that was a daring ride. Our second quickest time, not quite as quick as Richard Spooner, but without the rail would have been second. With the 4 faults, she's into 4th.
When she turned to that Liverpool at the end, I saw a faster cut, which would have left 1 more stride out. She held out the extra stride. I think that got her a little closer to the jump than she wanted. And the horse actually skipped off the ground with his hind feet and didn't get a good solid 2 hind leg push off.
Well, you know, we just described Ashley Bond as being a daring rider. I think we've got another daring rider right here in Carl Cook. Next to compete, number 409, Basimoto. Carl Cook has the ride for Signe Ostby out of Redwood City. Carl is fearless. I've watched him in these speed classes for many years down here in Del Mar, and not to put any pressure on him, but I would expect a pretty good performance. This guy can ride.
Carl won the Young Riders Championships, which is the top young riders in all of America, twice. That's pretty unprecedented. Only Tara Ardelon has done that before. He is a very fast rider, efficient, and yet smooth when he does it. There's not a lot of moving parts while he's doing this. Yeah, right there, he was just slow and easy, and I think the width of that fence caught that horse off guard, because I actually thought Carl was just a little slow there. But even with 4 faults, you can still get a good piece of the action, even if you're not the actual winner. You can still get a very good ribbon, even with 4 faults. Very solid ride to that Liverpool at the end. Dead accurate. Now he's opening up and adding a little pace. Or stumbled once there. Looks like he lost a boot or a shoe maybe.
Well, not a bad effort at all there for Carl Cook and Basimoto. Just 4 jumping faults. Fence number 4 coming down for the second time tonight. You know, Rob, it's a yellow jump. and it's under the lights, and it's indoors. A lot of people say those yellows are tough for the horses to pick up, and course designers are often use it as an additional test on their course. They like to use the colors, and yellow is one of their favorites to maybe not trick riders, but to just present an additional test.
You're absolutely right, Adrian. Yellow, we think, is the hardest color for the horses to distinguish from the white, so it doesn't stand out like black and yellow, orange or red. And there's one other thing. That jump is jumping into a dark-colored wall that's almost right behind it. And I think some of the horses are initiating their turn to miss the wall a little prematurely.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it, definitely. Already come down twice this evening. Next to compete this evening, number 471, this is Quister. Beezy Madden has the ride here for Abigail Wexner from New Albany, Ohio.
I was here and watched the meter 45 class on Wednesday. She didn't put the pedal to the metal, but she was 9th on this horse, double clean. And this is only, she told me, their second show together. So they're just kind of learning each other as they go. And if you're a young horse learning your way around these bigger courses, who better to learn from than Beezy and John Madden?
Absolutely.
You can see I can see already she's not trying to win, but she's trying to get a good placing here. I'm not telling anybody anything they don't already know. This is one of the greatest riders in American history, maybe in world history. Oh, that surprised me. That's one of the poles that horses do see very well because of all the colors in it.
Alrighty, just the one rail coming down at fence number 10, and I believe the first time we've seen any problem there at fence number 10. It will be a 4-fault score there.
They have a lot of room to get to that fence. We get to see her now through that second in and out, and this horse is super effort. His jumping technique is just wonderful. Here's the rail down. Oh, he was just a little, if you saw that, he was a little late with his right front. I could see the left front come all the way up, and the right front was just an inch or two under him.
Sometimes that's all that takes. Sometimes they come down easier than others. So with that performance, 4 jumping faults and 77 and change on the clock, that is going to put Quister and Beezy Madden into 6, and our leader remains Richard Spooner, and our time to beat remains 73.20. About to receive the tome, number 505, this is Little Gancho. Professional rider Mark Grock has the ride here for Moonlight Beach from nearby Encinitas.
Mark's a local rider, and he didn't do the jumpers a lot until recently. At least I don't remember seeing him in some of the big jumper classes. But I've watched him ride many times. He's a very good rider. And he told me he and this horse have only been together 2 months. Yet they were 6th in the Grand Prix together at the Masters in Spruce Meadows. He said tonight he just wanted a nice, good, solid round on this horse.
Not seen the 5 across the diagonal yet this evening. Am I going to get my 5 strides across the diagonal tonight,
no,
Rob? Okay,
I
thank
walked
you.
that. I walked that twice, and I just don't think the 5 could be done into an in and out. If it was a single fence, yes. Mark started to make the inside turn, and the horse got confused and started to go around. Mark almost came off there with no jump. Oh, that's amazing. And that really just discombobulated him to the next fence. He's got to pull himself back together here. Oh, it's just all falling apart after that almost fall
him.
off.
That's obvious, yeah.
Oh, there is an inside turn there, but he and the horse got a little confused for a moment.
Again, as you said, new horse and rider combination, maybe after a few years together, something like that might not happen. They get to know each other a little better. As it is, we've got 8 jumping faults, and I think we've got 2 time penalties, so a total of 10 there, if I'm not mistaken.
I hope we get to see that again. Here comes the inside turn. Watch. Mark was thinking inside. The horse was thinking outside.
Best to be on the same page.
You know, and this is what happens when he's only been with the horse a couple of months. Those things happen. That's too bad because they started off the course so beautifully. And then once that happened, then kind of things went sour for a little bit. It really is.
All right, we welcome to our competition arena now number 587. This is Arrivederci Alex. Peter Pechnik aboard his second ride of the evening. Arrivederci Alex, owned by Pam Billick of nearby Murrieta, California.
Peter told me this is his speed horse. He rides it a lot in the meter 40, meter 45 Grand Prix, has won some. And now he's got a little advantage, Adrian, because he got to ride this course once before.
That is a huge advantage, and I was going to ask you about that, the multiple rides. They really get out there. They get to know what the track has to offer, where they can make up a few seconds, and like you said, a big advantage, I think.
I think having a second and third ride helps a lot. Here comes the yellow oxer that's come down a couple times.
And there we go again, third time tonight.
I like the riders that ride out to it early and get squared and straight. I don't like angling to it at all. Peter's originally from Austria, but he told me he's lived all over Europe, and now he lives in Northern California. Although he's Austrian, he was raised partly in the United States, so if you speak to him, he has absolutely no accent whatsoever. Just the 4 faults coming home.
And that last rail as well, so it will be a score of 8 jumping faults. We're just within the time allowed at 82.77, so not much time to spare. He used every bit of that 83-second time allowed. But 8 jumping faults, again, no time penalties to add, and that will put Peter into 8th place aboard
Here he comes to that yellow oxer again. And this is what I see. Some of the horses are turning early. They're not jumping squarely and staying on a straight line. Here, it just didn't look like the horse got a good setup and a good solid push off on that black fence, because that one he knocked down a little bit harder.
Alrighty, next to compete here in our $35,000 Del Mar charity event, number 678, that's the number for Heroes de Papigny Z. Juan Jose Zendejas Salgado has the ride. That is all easy for me to say.
This young man is only 22 years old, and he just got in here this morning for this class. He's going to the university in Mexico City, so he had to go to school. He was actually third in the meter 45 class at the LA Masters. So again, one of our young amateur riders trying to move up and see what they can do against the seasoned pros.
Yeah, again, at just 21 years of age, he's getting an early start, and that portends to a long, distinguished career in Grand Prix riding, I'm sure. I think that's the first time we've seen the B element come down there.
I got to be honest with you, Adrian, I'm surprised. When I walked the course, I thought that would be one of the fences, the Longines oxer, to come down a few times.
Especially going right to the in-gate. Horses often distracted in that part of the arena. I expected that as well.
Now that he's had a couple rails down, you can see him taking the wider track, giving his horse lots of room to get to the Liverpool. Yeah, it's kind of coming apart here, Adrian, isn't it?
Looks like he might tip his cap and salute, yes. Yeah, accumulating 16 jumping faults and obviously making the wise decision best for his horse. That is obvious, and he will retire from the competition
That is so hard to do because he wasn't riding the horse all week long. Somebody else was hacking it or exercising it, and he has to just get on and go in the ring. Oh my gosh, that's hard to do.
That's a tall order, to be sure. Alrighty, next to compete here in this evening's $35,000 Del Mar charity event, number 198, Karushka and Eduardo Menezes. Eduardo aboard his own entry, and I believe Eduardo from right here in Carlsbad.
Well, he's originally from Brazil, but I don't think he's lived there for a long time. He lives right down the street here, just a few miles away, and trains. I get to see him ride all the time. A very tall rider. He's got to be 6'4", 6'5", and boy, he can ride strong. He rides super fast when he's got a fast horse. He is a terrific rider.
Well, he'll need to ride super fast because right now nobody seems to be able to catch Mighty Mouse and Richard Spooner again. 73.20 remains our time to beat.
He was a little conservative there from 1 to 2, but a good angle on that fence. With this horse, he won on the first day at Sacramento just a couple weeks ago on this very horse.
Did I see my 5?
Oh my gosh, Adrian, there was your 5 and did it beautifully too. He's going to have to pick it up just a notch to catch Richard, though. He was just a little slow on the first couple of fences. Three fences to go. Now he's kicking it into high gear. I hope that's not too late. I hope we see that again on the replay. Oh, that's every rider, no matter how good you are. We've all done that before.
Boy, that just came apart right at the end. What a shame. Just a brilliant ride up there until the last 2 fences. And, yeah, unfortunately, the wheels came off a bit. It'll be 8 jumping faults, a time of 73.25 on the clock.
He would have caught Richard's time. I know this was a little slower than Richard, but he slowed down after the accident.
You are absolutely right. I think
Here
that
we
we
go.
would have had a winning time there.
Let's see what happened. Well, that's the in and out. I don't know if we're going to get to see the accident across the middle. Here it comes. Oh, you can see him pushing for the super long spot.
Just
The
wasn't
horse
there.
got
Just wasn't
confused,
there. Yep.
chipped in. I can only tell you, all us riders at one time or another, we've all been there, done that.
Alrighty, next to jump here, number 834. This is Mighty Mouse, of course, Richard Spooner aboard his second ride of the evening. We've been letting you know, of course, Richard, our current leader aboard Chivas Z. Mighty Mouse is owned by Geraldo Pascual from nearby Rancho Santa Fe.
I talked to Richard earlier, and he was 4th on Wednesday in the meter 45 class on this very horse, which he said was the first time he rode him. He's only had this horse now for about 3 days.
A lot of new partnerships this evening, it seems.
I've seen this horse before. He's a really good jumper. His technique is super. He wants to stay off the fences, but he can be a little squirrely sometimes. That's probably why Richard got the ride in the first place. Oh, Richard made inside the Liverpool to this in and out. That's hard to do. And on a horse he's only known for 3 days. Wow. He was trying to jump and turn at the same time.
Seemed to pick it up a bit after that rail. I think he's going to be the fastest four-faulter right now.
Adrian, I think you're absolutely right. Once he had the rail down, he went to a new gear. But now he's going wide, slowing down a little. I think Richard has that new gear, but I'm not sure Mighty Mouse does.
Yeah, so we had the early rail. You saw him pick up the pace, and it kind of caught up with him towards the end there. Second rail coming down at fence number 10. So it'll be an 8-fault score there for Mighty Mouse. And Richard Spooner, time of 75.82. Good news, still a top 8 standing right now. That's into 8th place. Alrighty, about to receive the tome, number 853. This is Lazur, professional rider Robert Blanchette aboard his own entry. Very nice to have Robert down from Northern California. He's from Aptos area.
I asked him about this horse. He said it's a very big horse, so it's not the fastest in these quick speed classes indoors. He's a better outdoor horse. He's had the horse about a year now, and he bought this horse in Poland. Most of these horses these days come from Germany, Holland, not too many from Poland, so let's see what a Polish horse has to offer us tonight. Yeah, unfortunately, Robert just right here in front of us made a big mistake. He asked for a big long spot that wasn't there. There was one more stride there for absolutely sure. There we go. And that's actually a beautiful fence with all these cutout walls and stuff. But it's fence number 2. Comes up early. Yeah, you can see that horse do the zigzag.
Yeah,
right
that's
in
a
front of
shame. Unfortunately, second refusal there, and Robert Blanchette will be excused from competition. Tough night for Robert.
I just think this horse is a little overwhelmed in this arena right now. Here we have the ride to fence number 2 again. You can see Robert asked for a super long distance that just wasn't there, and he's riding a horse that's a little intimidated. Here we come again. He got way off to the right edge of the fence, almost involved with the wing on the right side. I don't think the horse was comfortable not being closer to the center.
Alrighty, next to work here, we've got number 926. This is Reconnaissance. Lauren Huff has the ride here for Laura Mateo, the owner, out of Wellington, Florida.
Yeah, Lauren splits her time between Wellington, Florida, and England. She rides about half and half, although she's actually a California girl. Rode out here as a junior, was a star even then. Comes from a horse family. Both her mother and father were professionals, and super professionals.
She's moving along at a pretty good clip. I think she's looking to win this thing.
She's finding these distances on the forward. She's not taking back too much any place. That's the fence that I thought would be coming down when I walked the course.
And I believe just the second time that's come down tonight.
Yep. She was still trying to hold her pace, but trying to make that inside turn. As she made the turn, the horse dropped its hind end as she was turning in midair. We'll see her again tomorrow night.
As we will many of these riders. Already finished nicely, just the 2 rails coming down, and we said at the beginning of her ride that she was moving along at a pretty clip, and the time tells that story. 71.50, so about 2 seconds quicker than Richard Spooner. And if I'm not mistaken, that might have even been after she let off the gas a little bit after her second rail.
It's still the fastest time we've seen tonight.
Exactly, so she really burned it up that first part of the course. So
let's see what happens on this
falls.
second in and out. Jumps in good, but it's a short distance, and she was still going forward a little, and the horse just rubbed the top of the pole, which rolled it off the back. Remember, all flat cups out here tonight.
Absolutely, but our quickest time, like I said, 71.50 on the clock. Fastest 8-faulter, obviously, and still in 7th place right now. Alrighty, the tone has sounded for our next competitor, number 935. It's Airwalk VC. Professional rider Jan Humphrey has the ride here for Leone Equestrians out of Sacramento, California.
And this is Jan's speed horse. She was 3rd in the Sunday speed class a couple of weeks ago at Sacramento. And she told me this horse likes to eat watermelon for a treat.
Who doesn't?
Just a lot of ride down to that fence. She slowed up a little. She's already had a rail down. Going to let him be careful. Yeah, this horse is just a little green at this height in the indoors as the sun's going down. I do have a bit of trivia here, though, about Jan herself. Years back, she was Miss Teen California.
Is that right?
Yeah. And, of course, we all know her older sister, Jill Humphrey, superstar Grand Prix rider a few years back, who just doesn't happen to have a horse right now at that level, but she will again.
All right, so carrying 8 faults coming down to the last oxer now. Looks like she might be a little tight on time. We'll see. Little rub there, stayed up. 8 jumping faults just under the time allowed at 81.78. So that'll be the final score. 8 jumping faults, 81 and change on the clock. And down about 17th. But she seems happy. Not a bad ride, a couple of rails, and we'll see her again tomorrow night, I'm sure.
Now, once she knocked down number 2, she slowed up just to give the horse a nice solid ride. There is number 2 right there, in my opinion, because it's right in front of me here. She just overrode the fence. She was getting there fine and rode it a little too hard. Here comes this. I thought she rode that fence fine, but her horse was just late with its front end. He's still learning.
All righty, well, next to compete here in our $35,000 Del Mar charity event, number 170, this is Junco. Guillermo Obligado has the ride here for Woodgrove Farm from nearby Carlsbad.
Although it says Guillermo's from Argentina, and he may have been born there. He hadn't lived there in years and years. He's married and lives right down the street, has a big training operation not too far from here. Guillermo's an underestimated rider, in my opinion. I think he rides good, but he runs primarily a sales and training business, so every time he seems to get a really good jumper, it gets sold. That's his business. But he rides terrific. And he's a very good coach. I've watched him coach some of the juniors and amateurs. He knows his stuff. Doesn't it look to you, Adrian, like he's going for one of those mid-level times?
It does. But, you know, a clear ride is going to get you into 4th place regardless of time, so that's probably a smart thing to do. I think we saw the 5 again.
There was our second horse to do the 5 strides. I think you have to have a pretty big horse to get that.
I feel vindicated to a certain extent.
He's taking the wide angle down to that Liverpool. He just wants a clean round tonight. Hopefully make that time allowed. That Liverpool, Adrian, is set behind the rails. And for some of these horses, it's a bit of an optical illusion.
Yeah, you talked about that earlier on. And
the older horses that have done it 100 times, they get it. But some of these other horses maybe don't see it all the time. They kind of jump through it a little bit.
Alrighty, so we just had the 1 rail 4 jumping faults. We're a bit over the time allowed at 86.23. So we'll add 1 time penalty to that. It'll be a total of 5 there for Juncal and Guillermo Obligado.
Still, I think he'll be happy with that round. I mean, all those jumps out in the ring, 14 total obstacles. The horse had 1 rail down. That was it. Jumped very well. There was the in and out, which he did the 5 strides to, and here comes the Liverpool he had down. Watch the horses just turning a little bit, catches it in front. He didn't even hit it that hard. He just hit it so that it rolled off.
Alrighty, well, we welcome to our competition arena now entry number 200. This is Santos Enrique Gonzalez aboard his second ride of the evening. He's got the ride here for Carlos Hank Jr. out of Rancho Santa Fe.
We saw Enrique earlier. This is his faster, more experienced horse. Enrique originally from Mexico, but he's lived right here in the Del Mar area now for a couple of years. This is his fast horse. We'll see if he could quite catch up to Spooner and Kent, who are at the top of our board. But I think he'd be very happy with a pretty quick, just clean round over these 14 obstacles. There was the very well-ridden 6. I don't know why that turquoise seems to get him coming out of the corner, but it's followed by a pretty sharp right angle turn to that yellow oxer. And I think some of the people are trying to get that turn done while the horse is still in midair.
Yeah, we've seen it down 3 or 4 times this evening.
That's either a 6 or a 7. Enrique chose to do the 6, and that got his horse a little flat and just kind of jumped right through it there.
Alrighty, so we had 2 rails coming down. Fences 7 and 11 were the culprits, so it'll be an 8-fault effort there, a time of 77.15. That's going to get him into a 12th place position right now. Here we go on the replay, coming out of the combination.
He rode that 5 just beautifully through there. The 6, I mean, he rode that. So here it comes. There's our rail down. Just tinked it with the right front hoof, just a little bit.
Alrighty, the tone has sounded for our next competitor. We welcome number 234, Washington Square. Georgina Bloomberg has the ride for Gotham Enterprises, all the way from New York, New York.
Georgina won the Central Park Grand Prix in 2014. She's a very experienced amateur rider, has ridden for the United States before. This is the first time, maybe the second time I've seen her out here in California to show.
Obviously, this Del Mar venue, a destination for Grand Prix riders, not only from throughout the country, but from throughout the world. It's just a great place to come show.
I've always felt this is one of the best places to ride. It lost its luster for a few years, but Dale Harvey and his team have really brought it back with these events. It is spectacular now, and you can sit anywhere in the stands. You've got a good seat to watch this. And don't forget, we're on the racetrack, the home of some of the most famous racehorses in history too, like Seabiscuit, Lava Man. They used to ride, race here. Oh my gosh.
Well, again, fence number 7 creating some issues there, and unfortunately Georgina is off. Kind of hard to see from this position. Actually, she is up, so fortunately she appears to be just fine. She's doing a quick adjustment there to the bridle, making sure her horse is okay, and good to see the horse standing there.
Adrian, those are shorter rails. Most of the poles lengthwise are 12 feet, but the turquoise poles are only 10 feet from side to side, making them a little lighter. They can fall down a little quicker.
If I may, I want to give Georgina props for running up those irons. Even the professional riders in this day and age, after a fall, they never...
Here's the ride to our narrow fence. He's on the correct lead. He started to leave the ground, and I don't know what happened. He actually lifted his legs up like he was going to jump, and it's almost like he changed his mind.
Well, again, he appears to be just fine, as does she, and we're very thankful for that. But he seems to be okay.
I believe this might be our final rider.
Alrighty then, last to go here in our competition, number 256. This is Asita. Nael Nassar has the ride here. Nael also the owner here of Asita and joins us from Sunnyvale, California.
Niall's an amateur rider. originally from Egypt, but he lives out here in Southern California. I get a chance to watch him a lot. He is a fabulous young rider, and I mean that. He won the $1 million at Socrates against all the pros in 2013, second in the $1 million class at Thermal. He can really ride when the money's on the line.
Well, he's going to have to. He's got to be quick. He's got to be clear, and he's got to be quicker than 73.20 for the win tonight.
He told me this is this horse's very first class at a meter 50. So you can see this horse doesn't have all the experience at this level some of the other ones have had. If he gets around with a nice, good, solid round tonight on this horse, he'll save him for some of the smaller Grand Prix as he gains this horse some experience. There's a very well-ridden 6. You can see the red ribbon in this horse's tail, which means to everybody in the practice arena, stay away from the back end. She might kick. NAL took the wide turn to get to that Liverpool, just giving the horse some practical mileage and experience over the size fence. Just the one fence left for him, and he's not going to mind if he has a time fault tonight.
Absolutely right. So again, just the one rail came in early at fence number 2. So it'll be 4 jumping faults. As you said, Rob, a little bit slow, 85.30 on the clock. And that will incur one time penalty, total of 5 there for Zita and Nael Nassar. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, your champion of the $35,000 Del Mar charity event, of course sponsored by Davlin Farms, is going to be Shivas Z and Richard Spooner. Very well done. Richard went early and nobody could catch him. Alrighty, well then, so here we have the standings. As we mentioned a few moments ago, Richard Spooner and Shivas Z, time of 73.20, obviously no jumping faults at all. Winners by about 3/4 of a second. They bested the time of Kent Farrington and Belfleur. Kent and Belfleur around in 73.97. We had Enrique Gonzalez in the 3rd place position, and then we get to our 4 falters in the placings thereafter. But again, tonight it's all about Shivas Z and Richard Spooner, our champions of the $35,000 Del Mar charity event. Rob, it's been so nice working with you this evening, and thank you so much. Thanks to all our viewers at home, and on behalf of all of us here at the Del Mar International Horse Show and West Palms, we'll bid everybody a good evening.
Good night, Adrian.
action.
Right there. And you got to get that official photograph taken as the champion of the Del Mar Charity Meter 50 Speed, sponsored by Davlin Farms. And just meeting all of our wonderful guests on the field. Richard Spooner aboard Chivasy. Our photograph taken by ESI Photography. They are the official photographers of the 2015 Del Mar International Horse Show. Let's meet our placings. In a second place, what a rider as well, Kent Farrington. Kent Farrington ranked number 6th in the world. And he's second tonight's aboard Bellefleur. Third to Mexico's Enrique Gonzalez aboard Shakna. Fourth place, here she is, Ashley Bond. Ashley Bond aboard Ace of Hearts. In fifth, Carl Cook, and Carl aboard Basimoto. You know, meeting our wonderful representatives of Davlin Farms. In sixth, BZ Madden of the United States, ranked number 2, second ranked, highest ranked rider in the world currently. Seventh to Egypt's Nael Nassar. And Nael Nassar aboard Asita in seventh. Eighth place, Argentina's Guillermo Obligado and Juncal. Just a great event. $35,000 Del Mar Charity Meter 50 Speed, sponsored by Davlin Farms. Once again, after this, we're going to go upstairs. Make sure you join us for Shelter to Soldier fundraiser. Saves 2 lives at a time by rescuing shelter dogs and training them to become service dogs for our veterans. And a wonderful event. Lots of charity auctions. But you know what? We do have one more thing to do, and we will ask Richard Spooner and Chivasy to lead our field in our victory ride. There is your champion, Richard Spooner. And let's bring all of our placings back around. And in front of that red carpet, we will have that Cavaliers salute the top placings of the Del Mar Charity Meter 50 Speed. The master of faster, here he is, Richard Spooner. In second, Kent Farrington. Enrique Gonzalez. Ashley Bond. Carl Cook. BZ Madden. Nael Nassar. Guillermo Obligado. And on his lap of honor, here is your champion once again aboard Chivasy, Richard Spooner. What an amazing day of competition here in the Del Mar Arena for the Del Mar International Horse Show. Our $35,000 Del Mar charity sponsored by Davlin Farms. We go upstairs right now, and that is for the Shelter to Soldier. That live and silent auction goes to a wonderful charity That Shelter to Soldier saves lives 2 at a time by rescuing shelter dogs and training them to become service dogs for our veterans. So make sure you come join us. Everybody is welcome. We'd love to have you up there. And you can bid on those auction items and get some refreshments. Learn more about Shelter to Soldier's mission and meet some of the veterans who have benefited.
Give a test.
Check 1 2, check 1 2, check. We're here at Del Mar. Check 1 2. Live at Del Mar.